You're listening to Fast Facts, Ask the Expert DSO Edition with Josey Sewell, brought to you in part by Sonicare, a leader in supporting DSOs and private practices alike. Stay tuned after the episode for a very special message. Welcome back, everyone, to Fast Facts, Ask the Expert DSO Edition, joined today by Josey Sewell. Josey, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, here we go. So this is an interesting topic. We're RDH under one roof earlier this year, and one of the topics that there was actually a course about hygienists owning their own practice. This is something that is legal in Colorado, where we're in Denver, so it made a lot of sense to have that kind of a course there. But I also know that there's a lot of non-dentist owners in the dental world, and so I was hoping that we could talk about a little bit of one, can RDHs own dental offices? And if so, kind of what does that capacity look like, or who else can own dental offices or dental practices or DSOs?
Absolutely. As we've seen the rise of DSOs and groups inside the industry, we're attracting a lot of attention from groups like private equity groups. Private equity groups are people with a whole lot of money typically, right? And they also are smart business people, and they're looking for businesses to invest in. And dentistry is very attractive because it's pretty recession proof, because it's healthcare. In the past, it's had pretty great profit margins. It's obviously been harder in the last couple of years. But what a lot of people may not understand is that there's a lot of non-dentist people who own dental practices. Now, there's a lot of state-by-state legality and things like that. We're not going to get into some of the specifics, but really what this comes down to is it's really about the business entity and who owns which entity. So the way that a DSO works, for example, is they will have an umbrella entity, and it might be like an LLC, right? And anybody can own that. And then underneath that, the business entity for our dental practices is called a PLLC, which is a professional. That part has to be owned by a dentist, but the way that they do the accounting and the moving around of money and things like that, really it has to do with the business structure. So when there is a true DSO structure, you can absolutely be a non-dentist who owns a part of that management company. So for example, there's a group in Colorado that I work with, and I've offered my coaching to them for the last several years in exchange, right, for some partnership. So there's a management company that I own 5% of. And what's nice about that is I'm helping grow the business and grow the team. And at some point, they might sell that business. And when they sell that business, then, I'll get the opportunity to participate in that. And so there are opportunities for people to have some ownership. We also see that for years, many DSOs have been offering partnership to their doctors. So they might share a little bit of equity either at the location level or at the umbrella level. And I'm starting to see with our struggle to find and keep great hygienists that there is a large group in the Colorado area, Peak Dental, that they are now offering partnership opportunities for hygienists. And I think they're pioneers. And I imagine that we will start to see more groups provide partnership and equity opportunities for their hygienists because they're so critical to the business. And that is super exciting for me.
It's a fascinating thought. I kind of wanted to tie into one of our last episodes that we did and just mention, it's not uncommon that when we're talking about our clinical teams and then our operations teams, that they'll actually be paid by two different companies, which I think is an interesting thing and then you'll have contracts. If you're, maybe if you're a regional operations person, you might have a different contract with a different part of it, and the LLC versus the PLLC and things like that. So it's very fascinating when you kind of break all this down and kind of see behind the curtain of what's going on. Josey, thank you so much for all of your words of wisdom. If someone wanted to meet up with you, if they wanted to see what you're up to, where can they find out what you're up to?
I love it anytime anybody connects with me after being on this podcast. And so please reach out. You can find me online as Josey Sewell or email me josey@joseysewell.com.
Love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Ask the Expert with Josey Sewell. Sonicare supported this episode, and they're here to support you as well. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. I have linked the website in the show notes of this episode that will give you access to all of the patient support materials Sonicare has to offer. Sometimes it's hard to know where to start with our patients. Let them help. Simply click on the episode title, access the show notes, and click on the link courtesy of our friends at Sonicare. Have a great week, everybody.